Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here again with us today as we look at our urban parking system repository built and designed in Enterprise Architect. Today we're looking at ArchiMate once again, and we're looking at a different viewpoint today. We're looking at the physical viewpoint. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined by Stephen Maguire. Welcome, Stephen. What can you tell us about the physical viewpoint and how you can use it in Enterprise Architect?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Scott. Yes, we are going to talk about the physical viewpoint. Remember, it's part of the ArchiMate framework and language that is the de facto standard for enterprise architecture and for modeling things right up from a motivation strategy point of view, for things like goals and drivers, right down to the technology and into the physical level. So the physical level is about equipment and facilities and machines, physical machines, and the things that are used in a particular design to model those aspects of a system. So let's make a start, and we'll go up to the top right-hand corner of our application, and we can see here the perspective selector. I can drop that down. I've been doing some work on some ontology definitions earlier today, and I now want to change my focus to be working in enterprise architecture and ArchiMate. Simply click on that to change the perspective. The tool then focuses me on to working with ArchiMate. Here we see a series of patterns in the builder page. I can look at these ones here, and you can see we've got a number of different packages, including the physical viewpoint. So again, you can see that location features in this particular viewpoint because physical things are generally located in a specific location. We've got facilities and other pieces of equipment. So as always, Scott, I like to do things from first principles, but remember that you can return to this builders page, and it's accessible from the browser toolbar there, the first icon there, the model builder, and it's also called a pattern library. So a series of patterns, not just for ArchiMate, but for all sorts of different technologies and languages and frameworks. If you wanted to inject this into your own model, simply click on the create model and it's injected in. So return to the page for productivity gains, but I'm going to close it and do things from first principle. So let's close that builder page. We're now going to look for a location for our physical viewpoint there. We go into our enterprise node, our enterprise architecture node, and we've got a series of architectures which represent the layers in a ArchiMate framework. So let's click on this one and let's add another layer called the physical layer. And we'll use that one. We're going to use the arrow on the browser toolbar to move that down. So the down arrow moves them down and the up arrow obviously moves them up. I can change the location of them. I want it below that technology layer. It's a little bit more of a primitive concept than the technology layer there. In fact, I'll actually rename that and call it architecture as well. It's kind of a layer, but let's talk about it as physical architecture. So easy to change your package names, and let's put in this under here a viewpoint. So we'll call this the physical viewpoint. We might have a number of other viewpoints under here, or a number of even different types of physical viewpoints. So the physical viewpoint there, and as always, Scott, I like to put some notes into these so people know immediately what it's about. I've got something in my clipboard. And that's from the ArchiMate specification, so not something that I've personally made up. But the physical viewpoint contains equipment, one or more physical machines, tools and instruments that can create, use, store, move, or transform material. So depending upon what type of organization you are or what's going on in your organization, you might have distribution networks, for example, where you're shipping physical goods. In our situation, we've got data centers and things like that, which have got particular facilities and particular equipment in them. So let's make a start. We need to make a diagram to put our elements on. We can simply use the new diagram icon in the browser toolbar. We click on that. Enterprise Architect brings up the list of diagram types that we can use. And so we'll have a look at these, and we'll look under here and see we've got this physical one under technology. So it's grouped under there in the list in the specification. It's grouped under basic, and you can see that one is there as a prefix to that physical one. And let's go create a diagram. Enterprise Architect does the work. It creates the diagram, brings up toolbox pages that are relevant to what we're doing, and you can see that location, grouping, and junction are always there because they're part of every diagram, the universal elements, and we've got these other technology ones there. Let's expand this toolbox a little bit so we can see the names of these particular elements there, and let's get started. So I'm going to start with the location again, and I want to put in there with the data center. I'll just put the data center in here as a location there.
So what's the purpose of this diagram with respect to our urban parking repository? What are we hoping to achieve?
So Scott, you can see in the toolbox gives us the clue to that. We're going to relate things. If we look at the first two pages, active structure technology concepts, so nodes and devices and paths and things, they're all kind of physical things, right? You may have a cloud, cloud and virtual machines and things, but in a sense, all these things are, can be thought of as physical. So we've got those nodes and devices, but we've also got these physical extensions, so facilities, equipment, distribution networks, material, and distribution network connectors. So we're relating technology things, I guess, to physical things and how they manifest. So the kind of things that we're interested in we'll have a location which is going to be our data center. I'll put that in now. And the kind of things that you might be interested in a data center, obviously there's going to be some sort of server room, and there's going to be equipment in there, like there's going to be racks that are containing, server clusters or machines. But there's also equipment such as air conditioning facilities, which is, equipment that you would put in. It's not necessarily, obviously, a computing thing.
But it still has a business value, and you need to take it into consideration because there's no point building a server room without an air conditioner.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah, exactly. So let's put this in here, and obviously that's the wrong notes in there. I'll just get them into my buffer there, and let's put those into the notes window. A secure facility located in the facility that located. Just change these notes here.
Yep.
Located in the city centre. That houses the central computing infrastructure. So let's do that. Let's put in a facility now. So we've got that facility there. Let's drop that into this one here, and let's call this a server room.
Yeah.
So most people that have been around computing for a little while will know that these kind of facilities are important because they're going to have things like racks and computers and all sorts of equipment in them. So that's a facility, a specialized area within the data center that contains server racks, cooling systems, and things. So let's actually explicitly put those things in now. So I'll put in a server cluster here, and let's do that. So the server cluster is going to be put in as a node. So even though could be a number of different devices there, and we'll put server cluster there.
So is it possible to have multiple levels of nesting within this diagram, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. You can go down to any level that you want. Just remember that that's a very useful thing to do. And in other areas of ArchiMate, like in modeling capabilities, you can go down through different layers of capabilities from high level capabilities lower. But this is a perfect example as well, where in that server cluster you may want to express what's actually in the cluster. You may want to get down
machines in the cluster, yeah.
Yeah, you may want to get down to a rack level. But generally with ArchiMate, Scott, the important thing is to keep above the detail. The detail can be fleshed out in all sorts of other models using UML or SysML and other other modeling languages. But the ArchiMate is centered around trying to keep a high level but an informative narrative that you're creating. So let's do that. We'll put in some notes for that. We'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see this cluster in here. And let's also put in a air conditioning unit as well. So this is going to go in now, Scott, as equipment. So the server cluster wasn't really equipment, it was kind of more of a node. We'll put in some equipment here, and we'll call this the computer air conditioning thing. You can see it's inside there.
The server room, yeah.
Yeah, and let's make an association between these just to make it explicit that it's, the server cluster is going to be generating heat, and that cooling system is going to be neutralizing that and cooling the room down. So, that's a pretty important aspect of what we're doing. But let's do something else. Let's put another facility in here, and we'll call it a facility for parking. So we'll put that over on this side of the location there, and I'll call this a parking facility. So you can see how we can model things differently depending upon our particular perspective. So I want to look at this as a parking facility. I'm going to put some notes into that so we can explain what that is. So designated area within where vehicles can be parked for a specific duration incorporates digital technology to track occupancy, facilitate payments, and improve user experience. So that's a designated area where vehicles can park. And so the reason why we've done it as a facility is because we want to put some other things in there, some other equipment pieces in there. And inside that, we will have a location. So let's just quickly do that now, and we'll put in that a parking lot in there. So again, I can put in a location. It's better to be modeled as a location there, and I'll call it a parking lot, parking space. Let's call it space there. Okay, so we've got that in there. There's a few things that we need to do now, but you can see the thrust of what we're doing. We're modeling location. We're modeling, technology things like, a server cluster. We're modeling facilities such as this server room, and we're modeling equipment such as this computer room air conditioning. So I'm going to get you to perform some of your time travel magic.
Welcome back, everyone. We've done a little bit of editing magic, and we have now got our completed physical viewpoint. So Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about it and what we do with our server rooms and our air conditioners and much, much more?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Glad to be back. So we have completed the diagram, and you can see that we've got a number of different elements and regions of the diagram. So the main elements on this diagram are the facility data center, or this one here. That would be the central data center, actually. I think we renamed that, changed that a couple of times. It's the central data center. And we've got this parking facility over here, and the central, that's the local data center. I've misnamed that one. So let's just do that. So this is the one that's existing at a location like in a parking facility, such as a parking tower or something like that, outside a sports stadium or at an airport. The line. Yep. I'm going to use my pan and zoom window here to zoom in a bit on this. So I've selected the pan and zoom window. If you don't have that open, that's available from the layout ribbon. I'll just show you where that's located. It's the pan and zoom there. You simply click on that and that will bring the window up. So let's use that pan and zoom a little bit to be able to move our way around. I can use the slider control here to make the resolution a bit higher. And then I can use this little viewport window to move around the diagram. So we've got our local data center there, and we've got a server room. So a location, and then we've got a server room, which is the facility, and you can see that over in the top right-hand corner in the properties window here, or under the properties there, and also down in the bottom left-hand corner in the status bar. So that's our server room. Inside our server room, we've got a server cluster, a bunch of nodes there, and also a computer room air conditioning unit as well, which is a piece of equipment. So a number of different types of elements being used there, but it enables us to, to model those things. The computer room air conditioner is not really a node, it's a whole system, and so we're modeling it at a high level. We don't want to go into the details of it. We're not going to specify, exactly how that operates. Typically, we would be specifying the requirements of that air conditioner, the kind of the speed of its cooling, all sorts of other aspects of it. Maybe there are temperature sensors and thermostats and things, but that would be up to the manufacturer of that particular unit, and we wouldn't be manufacturing that. So we would specify the requirements to make sure the air conditioner met those requirements. We move down a little bit in the diagram. Again, we've got a similar thing here. We've got underfloor air distribution unit in this main equipment room. So same thing, location, a facility, and then some equipment and some nodes. If we move up in the diagram, we can see that we have this other parking facility here, and we've got a parking space inside there. So we've kind of turned this inside out, if you like, and we've said that the parking facility is the outer element, and we've nested a parking space under there, and we've got a parking sensor there. And you can see, if we look at the notes there, hardware devices installed at each parking space to detect vehicle presence and occupancy status. So that's talking to an edge computing device there, and there's also a parking kiosk, the type of thing that you see possibly at your domestic or international airports, where you have a machine or a little kiosk area where you pay for your parking. We have also the fibre optic connection between the parking facility space, this edge computing unit that's there, and over to our local data centre, and that's a material. And optic fibre cables are probably best modelled as material, because we're focusing in not on the network connection as such, but on the actual physical materials. And again, that would be specified by a whole series of requirements. We've also got a network connector here, a communication network that's connecting the local data center up to the central data center. And we've got, again, those elements in there. So, Scott, that's the this physical view. And the other thing to say is that depending upon the type of organization that you're modeling, if you were modeling a warehouse or something like that, you might involve distribution networks. And if we look into our toolbox there, you can see under the physical extension, we've got a distribution network. So this is the kind of thing, like I said, if you had a warehouse and you were sending out packages to your customers, things like that, you might want to model that distribution network. So that's it for the physical viewpoint, and I encourage people to incorporate these into your own models.
Thanks, Stephen. It's been great to see the physical viewpoint come together in ArchiMate in Enterprise Architect. It looks really good, and I can see how many customers would find that quite valuable. As always, to our audience, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. If you have any questions about the physical viewpoint or ArchiMate or Enterprise Architect in general, you can reach out to Stephen using his LinkedIn credentials and website that are listed in the video description below. As always, it's great to hear from you, Stephen. It's great to learn a bit about ArchiMate and to become a little bit more knowledgeable. Appreciate your time and expertise. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Scott.